Oh shit, I got a mount from there one time.
Really? Which one?
It was a phoenix from it was from Ragnaros.
You got it. Wait, hold on. You got it on classic?
Oh no. This is my first character in shit in like 10 years.
Oh.
I haven't played this.
So you haven't played in 10 years?
Yeah, I figured I'd log in and try out classic to revisit when I really play. Oh, I guess really when we really played. When did you start playing classic? I mean,
I played in 2019 for a bit, but I really started in Wrath Classic.
oh wow, you did the thing. Did you use that plastic Lich King sword to do it?
Yeah, I do have the time. Wait, holy shit! You remember the? Yeah, no, I didn't use the fucking. I have it next to my desk actually. That's fucking crazy. You remember?
Dude, I remember a shit ton.
This might be.
Sorry.
This might be a cringy question, but if you had a time machine that could only go backwards, where would you go and why?
This is the summer. The summer of this. The summer that summers from here on will be compared to. Where memories will be forged into the sand and then hung on a wall for years to come.
Yo, what's the shakery in the bakery? I'm Kosher the Kingslayer, full-time jester and part-time videographer. Allegedly. For the last couple of years, I've been going through classic World of Warcraft and completing all of my childhood dreams one by one. Now that we're here at Legend of Pandaria, my favorite expansion, my goal is the final achievement that younger me was never able to accomplish. I intend on completing the Legendary Questline and becoming the Legend of Pandaria. But, with less than a year to becoming Legend, I quickly learned that this would be the most arduous adventure I'd ever been on. It won't be easy. And over a decade ago, I failed pursuing the same quest, right at the finish line. But I'd never forgive myself if I didn't at least try. And that's what second chances are for, right? Welcome back, champions. In the last episode, we were introduced to the continent of Pandaria, along with its many factions, and along the way hit level 90. Now, the clock starts ticking, as the first raid of Mists of Pandaria Classic, the Mogushan Vaults, is set to open a week from where we left off. The goal now is to grind a full set of good gear, TM, and while I'm at it, the rarest and dumbest title in World of Warcraft history. And you may be surprised by what I come by on accident along the way, but we'll get to that. Alright, enough talk. Let us enter the chronological adventures I went on as I prepared for Mogushan Vaults, starting with July 26th. Last episode was all about leveling, so this episode is all about gearing. But don't worry, whenever I start chasing valor points to buy pre-raid best in slot items, or chase gear and heroic dungeon spams, I end up getting a bit sidetracked and go on frolicking adventures. So while my checklist for the next week before the first raid comes out looks a bit like this, it's like saying the only thing on Luffy's checklist is finding the One Piece. Like, you know, I think a little bit more happens in between. That being said, it was about noon when I decided to chase the dumbest achievement in the game. You see, the first chapter of the Legendary Questline requires that I raid a lot to earn these sigils and get reputation with the Black Prince Raytheon. And the earlier I get on that, the better. All that needs to be said now is, I need to gear if I even wanted to see Mogushan Vaults next week. It'd be rough getting into catch-up groups due to 3 raids coming out mere weeks apart from each other, so I had to fucking hurry. I did a ton of dailies, which I won't show you, you're welcome, so I could get the reputations required to buy pre-raid BIS items from certain vendors, using valor points, which can be earned from heroic dungeons, which we'll see a fuckload of, but also from scenarios. Hey, what's a scenario? One of the many features added to Mists of Pandaria were scenarios, a short 3-man dungeon that can be made up of any team composition, whether it be 3 DPS, God forbid, or 2 tanks and 1 healer forced to choose who they like more, my favorite, or anything in between, while each one has their own whimsical stories and achievements to chase. At the heart of these quick in and out activities are tons of easy valor points and small boxes with chances at gear that has the same item level as heroic dungeon loot, but the downside is that they are repetitive, quickly become boring, and not efficient in the slightest once people are able to quickly down heroic dungeons. And I decided that before scenarios became abandoned by week 2,
do since nobody likes them. I was going to do every single one of them in a single sitting without breathing for the valor, right? Right? Sorta. I'm doing scenarios to get the game's rarest title ever. The Valor is just a nice little bump to get me started. If I'm getting into Mogushan Vaults for my sigils next week, it's because I grinded scenarios on the first and last weekend before people forget them, while everybody else is struggling in heroic dungeons. And I just so happened to use this stupid goal as my carrot on the stick to keep me going. God, this title's so dumb and rare. Now, don't get me wrong, the title isn't rare because it's necessarily difficult to obtain. It's actually quite the contrary. The act of obtaining it is so unbelievably ridiculous that most people either don't know it exists or never pursue it because it is literally worthless. That, ironically, has given it immense worth, seeing that only a few thousand people have it. So let's break it down, contextual style. For completing every scenario in the game in one sitting on a Saturday specifically, you will obtain the achievement Seanturday, which rewards the title Seanturdist. Do you see why nobody fucking wants this thing? And given how scenarios would quickly become dull and deadening to the player base, if I wanted this title, it was now or never. So on the first Saturday of Mr. Pandaria Classic, right after hitting level 90, I decided to start my unorthodox valor grind with this stupid fucking achievement. And what I found in my intensive scenario grind was that these 3-man dungeons are the most goofball part of the game to date. My favorite scenario above all else, however, has to be the one with the Hosen Pirates, also called Unga Ingu, in which you head to the titular island off the Kosher coastlines and are tasked by Brewmaster Bo Burnham to recover a shit ton of stolen beer and eradicate the Hosen who stole them. Hosen that have also purloined pirate ships and are now role-playing as buccaneers. I was to run across the Isle of Unga Ingu and collect beer from self-appointed captains and way too many first mates to keep count, all while a non-stop barrage of Hosen pirate soldiers invaded from the seaside, while my comrades defended Brewmaster Bo and fought off the clown car crusade of monkeys. I retrieved every keg and brought it back home safely. Fuck yeah, another debate one with violence and egocentrism. After all the kegs were recovered, the dreaded Captain Ook arrives on a banana boat, literally, to slime us then and there. He has 2 mechanics that make me giggle and at times even chuckle a bit. One's a basic boring leap, God, get over it, cringe. And the only other mechanic occurs when Captain Ook suddenly contracts scurvy for no foreseeable reason, which prompts magical oranges to spawn from thin air, and we are thus tasked with keeping him away from the fruits at all costs, so his sickness can corrode him from the inside out. Cinema. After Captain Ook is defeated, there are fireworks and confetti, everybody's so fucking happy, skanking out. A beachside party that puts all the homeless Slavs at Coney Island to shame, and I'll save you the rundown. The other scenarios are not that interesting, or remotely as funny, but other than that, the scenarios are kinda lame. Yeah, I said it, and I'll say no more. Here is an epileptic-pilled and cringe-maxing montage of me completing every one of them in a row while I fought the urge to piss myself for the love of the game.
So while you're here in my arms, let's make the most of the night like we're gonna carry on. Beat to the beat of the drums. Oh, what a shame that you came here with some. Here in my arms, let's make the most of the night like we're gonna die young.
What's going on, guys? It's Kosher the Kingslayer here. Actually, plot twist, it's Kosher and the Sander. It's Kosher. Welcome to my fucking unboxing. Check it out. We're gonna be opening this shit. I've kept you waiting long enough, so let's just open these motherfuckers. Okay, maybe I should turn on the chat for this. Fun fact, you're gay. Okay, so we're gonna turn it off. Let's see. Wow, we got Firewolf Sandals of the Wildfire! Awesome! I always did want shoes from California. Gold? 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 Oh, wow! I got fucking gloves from California and has hit and critical strike? Wow. Jerk me off and call me Jerry fucking Seinfeld. Am I right, Dragon Slayer Nothier? Get the fuck out of my shot. These are actually really sick. And they can be upgraded. Fantastic. Perfect pieces of gear. Wow. I feel stronger already. Swift keg. I hope you don't fall down a set of stairs. Fuck yeah, that's dope as shit, bitch. So now I got gloves, and I got shoes, and I'm a Sandardist. I'm a Sander. Not many people know this, but I'm very famous for repping the Kingslayer title.
Now you may be wondering, is this the end of Kingslayer? What even is a sand? Fuck no, I'm never using this title again. I only got it to make my unboxing video more interesting. With 700 valor collected from the Sandardist grind, I was on track to affording one piece of gear. The rest I would have to collect elsewhere. Speaking of which, you guys like dungeons? I love them, and fortunately, so did Blizzard back when they made MOP. The dungeon design was the best that the game had seen since vanilla, but also on the contrary was also the shittiest. Siege of Naojiao Temple makes me want to go fucking trespass somewhere just to feel something, but I digress. In the classic re-release, there is no LFR, thank fuck, and in its place is a new tier of dungeon called Celestials.
Hey, wait, weren't Celestial Dungeons technically added a couple weeks later? Why are you talking about...
So as I was saying, Celestials are slightly harder than Heroics, and come with some mechanics from the Heart of Fear raid, but upon completion, they give staggering amounts of Valor points, as well as August Stone fragments. These fragments can be used to purchase dickloads of gear, but also can be used on the Satchels of Celestial Chance. These drop lesser charms of good fortune and some gold, and word on the street is that they can drop mounts as well, but I don't believe it. I saw a guy open 100 of these and get nothing, and I held on to that belief until... Holy shit, is that the Astral Cloud Serpent? Cloud Serpents are my favorite mounts in WoW. The two rarest Cloud Serpents are the Astral Cloud Serpent from Elegon, which drops at a whopping 1%, and even rarer still is the Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent from the Shaw of Anger, at a nauseating, terrifying 0.1% drop rate. I'm gonna fucking puke. Both of these require a raid group, and each has a weekly lockout, all while your chances are already flying high in the thousands. And here's the real kicker. If you do happen to get either of these mystical mounts, you can't even fucking ride them until you're exalted with the Order of the Cloud Serpent after doing a Bastard Forged rep grind. Sound familiar? I distinctly remember being a teenager and googling the odds of both of these mounts dropping and their requirements and saying, fuck this, aloud to an audience of cringy anime figures. But now, what if... No, it's not realistic. I'd love to get a new whip right about now, but these maddening mounts are way too rare. Look, I'll do my dungeons, get my gear, and call it a day. Whether I get a mount or not, it's whatever. Let us enter the dungeons that I like most from Mr. Pandaria, and ignore, with absolute grace, the dungeons that suck ass through a cardboard straw, because I'd rather skinny dip in a pile of glass. Buckle in for 250 heroics. And I wish I was joking.
Yo, res me, the fuck?
Walk. God, I fucking love heroic dungeons in WoW. They are the old reliable. They are always as malignant as the day that you left them. Whether they're Celestials or Gammas, it doesn't matter. 1 minute, you're doing monkey runs in Stormstout Brewery, and one of the people you're in a group with throws a temper tantrum over barrels like they're 2013 PewDiePie. And the next moment, you're doing Gate of the Setting Sun and nobody uses the turrets for some reason. One Huntard will not shut the fuck up about it. But as I did my hundreds and hundreds of heroic dungeons and dealt with hundreds and hundreds of fucking idiots with the goal in mind of just getting better gear, raising my item level to 470, and maybe getting up to, maybe just a mount, I don't know. I decided that for the video, going by each dungeon in Mr. Pandaria one by one would be absolutely fucking torture for you and for me. That's not to say that the dungeons aren't good either. They're fucking amazing. It's probably my favorite grab bag of dungeons excluding vanilla. Like, dude, finding good dungeons in Mr. Pandaria is like finding forks in a kitchen. But then there's Siege of Naojiao Temple, Mogushan Palace, and Shadowpan Monastery, which feel like finding forks lodged in my urethra. And that's not to say that they're completely terrible. Like, Shadowpan Monastery is good, goofy, silly fun. You just all stand in a corner and fuck up every NPC's tracking so they just run to you and you spam AoE to take them down, and that's like the only thing you do in the dungeon except for walk. And while that sounds fun, and it is the first time, it quickly becomes a lot like heroin. And to think this isn't the only dungeon in MOP where you can fuck up the pathing of a boss like that. In the remade Skullomance, which is fucking S tier by the way, there's the Maiden of Death boss fight. And she has this part where she casts Shadow Clone Jutsu where you have to pick out which one is the right one. The strat now is that everybody in the group kind of just stands still until the clones get bored and she reveals herself for some reason, stops attacking, stands still, and becomes a bullet sponge. It's fantastic. Scholomance remake, by the way, has to be one of my favorite dungeons to do in Mists of Pandaria, since you get tons of valor and fragments for every boss, and it has such cool lore and boss fights and Professor Putricide.
Good news, everyone!
Oh my god, it's the inventor of sex! Dude, this guy's the best lore character ever. Holy shit.
2 oozes, 1 room. I can't come.
Oh. And I mean it when I say that even the shit dungeons have their moments. Like Mogushan Palace has this moment where the tank from Faralina phases in and says, fuck, then leaves. Or Siege of Niaozhou Temple where, it has, well, it doesn't have anything really. This is the worst fucking dungeon ever added to the fucking game. I've nicknamed it the Fourth Reich. I do not enjoy it. It is outside of God's jurisdiction and simultaneously outside of the devil's jurisdiction. It is worse than editing WoW videos for 8 hours a day for 11 months straight. Help. But I digress. While I have a love-hate relationship with some of the dungeons, I do really adore a lot of what this expansion has to offer. Like Temple of the Jade Serpent is fucking wicked, dude. With the lore vault where all the stories come to life and attack you until you learn the moral of said story represented in the mechanics of the fight. Or Storm Stout Brewery, which I talked about earlier, which puts on full display my wokest opinion, that being that the Pandaren are literally just hobbits but with a bit of Asia thrown in there for flavor. Anyways, it was at this point that I purchased my first 3 satchels of Celestial Chant. On my very first one, I got the Porky Pet. Huh. Wow. Yeah, shit. Maybe you can get stuff from the... I'll save you from the rest of my reaction. Just know that this was an omen to seal my fate to these celestial dungeons for the coming moons, as my hunger for a certain other mount that I now knew was obtainable would not be satiated until it was in my grasp. I mean, I didn't think the Astral Cloud Serpent was achievable, but here we are. How much rarer can the other one really be? What's better than 1 freakishly rare mount? 2... Holy shit. This decision, like much of classic WoW, was a Faustian acquiescence that kindled monomaniacal conniptions and stark vicissitudes. I was unknowingly entering the 4th circle, damned to the factory of avarice, to chase the heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent, which I can't even ride, by the way. Remember that? Remember how I said earlier that even if you manage to get any of these stupidly rare mounts, you can't even use them until you are exalted with the Order of the Cloud Serpent? So you best believe that any time I wasn't in a dungeon, I was in the Jade Forest doing dailies. That is, until I learned about Onyx Eggs. Yeah. Remember the Netherwing rep grind from episode 2? Remember how I did it because I was really sad and burnt out and alone? Wow, I'm so sad. Well, in stark contrast to back then, right now I'm really fucking jovial. The goal of both of these grinds are pretty much the same thing. In the Netherwing rep grind, the goal was to chase Netherwing eggs, which spawned at random on a fuck-ass island off in space. And this time around, it's the same exact thing, except it's a fuck-ass island in the ocean. No way. And while the grinds are identical, this time I didn't treat it like an Easter egg hunt in a psych ward. I instead chose to operate off the momentum of the mount drop and off my adrenaline to seize the Netherwing sequel grind by the throat and massacre it with a clever use of game mechanics. Late into the night, I would scour the Windward Isle on the prowl for Onyx Eggs, which would spawn every few hours and were up for grabs by any player in the vicinity. Though late at night, luckily there wasn't that much competition. I would go around this route and collect all the eggs that I could. Once I purloined all of them, I would do this really silly funny thing where I would go into LFG chat, find somebody trying to make a group for challenge mode dungeons, lie about my item level, join their group, tell them that I would stay, switch to their lair, rinse the island for all the eggs that were on this layer's version of the island, then leave. Yeah, good luck forming that Niaozhou Temple CM group at 1:45 a.m. I did this over and over until I was swimming in eggs. Like a... I don't know. But I didn't dare turn them in yet. What do I look like? A fool? I am. Precisely why I went to my favorite spot in Azeroth, the Dark Moon Fair, and hit up the merry-go-round to get a bonus to all reputation gains. Then headed back to the Jade Forest. And with automated quests turned off for some reason, I turned in each and every single egg, one by one, manually, to become exalted with the Order of the Cloud Serpent. Oh my god.
You got it in the bag.
I got it, dude. Now that I'm exalted and can actually ride my wicked new whip, I'm already in the market for another. Got a Bugatti and I'm like, I want 15 Lamborghinis.
Who do you think I am? Through my disgusting dungeon grind, I opened hundreds of satchels of celestial chance, in which I earned yak mounts, a few cranes, some pets, but unfortunately, never the heavenly onyx cloud serpent. It is literally rarer to obtain both the astral cloud serpent and the heavenly onyx cloud serpent in the same week than it is to get struck by lightning in my entire lifetime. So I figured that maybe this grind was a bit too much and a little unrequired. I shouldn't push myself too much for things that weren't originally on my childhood checklist, and I need to focus and remember what this series is actually about, or else I'll get burnt out. I shouldn't stray too far from the path in risk of burning myself out. I already have the Astral Cloud Serpent. That's fucking awesome and way cooler than anything I could have hoped for. I got extremely lucky once. Why keep chasing that rush? Maybe in some cases 99 giants is enough, and one more just isn't worth all the fuss to chase. So, and I'm not putting this lightly, but I hate to say it, but come on, it was not happening realistically. So in terms of chasing the Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent, since it was technically never on my original checklist, and due to the odds definitely not being in my favor, I give up.
Yo, what is popping, and welcome to another unboxing video. Let's see what we're gonna get. I'm feeling really lucky. Dude. Look at that, I got the spawn of Ganantis.
Holy fuck! Gotcha, motherfucker! Who the hell do you think I am? Giving up is for reprehensible reprobates, not for swag jester wizards. I got the Astral Cloud Serpent and the fucking Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent, bitch! I am on top. I do this shit 24/7, 7 days a week. I'm the guy that the guy who knows a guy knows. I'm the spellstruck upper elevator. Name is Kosher. Hardly know it. Slayer of the Lich King. Conqueror of the Firelands. Boople Nip Milk is my rank. Known ex-cartel member. The first of the Uber Danger clones. Last of the Beekeeper wannabes. My name is Kosher. Skeleton Jester. Hardly know her.
With 2 of the rarest mounts now in possession, a stupid title, and 250 heroics grinded and left for dead, I was finally decked out in full best in slot gear, with a necklace that I bought from the Klaxi after I smoked a hose and peace pipe, and an item level high enough to actually begin the Legendary Questline. Yes, you are hearing me right. I can finally start it. I am finally sent a mysterious letter, signed by a stranger from a faraway land. And it reads the following. Dearest Kosher, I have gone through great effort to learn your name, and I am pleased that one of my missives found its intended recipient. All is quiet on Pandaria for the moment, but world events are developing quickly. Help me to shape the course of the upcoming conflict, and you will be generously rewarded. Please seek me out at the Tavern in the Mists, hidden away in the Veiled Stair. Signed, yours truly, the Black Prince. Alright, so I briefly told you what this brutal series of quests entails and rewards in the last episode, but I hardly scratched the surface. Now that we're in the trenches, about to run out into oncoming gunfire and actually begin, it's about time some blanks get filled in. There's no going back. This is a point of no return. So let's break it down a bit, contextual style. Deathwing, the emo dragon that got all corrupted by some kooky old gods deep underground and caused that fuck-ass cataclysm. Yeah, he had a son named Raytheon, the Black Prince. Raytheon ain't like the other bitches though. He got that uncorrupted schizophrenia, some hardcore shit, and had many visions where he saw the end of the world due to unseen horrors that lay within our very world. After Raytheon's father perished in the worst raid known to man, the Black Prince traveled to Pandaria. There he formed his own organization and decided to take on his father's original purpose of guarding the planet from what lies within, to prevent it from being corrupted, as his father was, and to prevent his visions of a corrupted, destroyed Azeroth from coming to fruition. With the blood of Yasharj rich in the soils of Pandaria, and the Shah running rampant, this was the prime time and prime spot for Raytheon to show the world that he was not like his dad, and that this was not a phase. To prove this even further, he chose me to be his champion. Yes, me, of all people, to bring him powerful artifacts that he can use to fuck with world politics, completely destabilize the power on the surface, so that everybody on Azeroth is forced to look deep within to the horrors that lay beneath. If I do what he says and help turn the attention to the shadows that lurk inside Azeroth's deepest corridors, he promises to reward me handsomely with an ungodly, powerful, legendary cloak with sick-ass wings and, of course, the title Legend of Pandaria. This questline is split into 5 massive time-gated chapters, one for each patch of Mist of Pandaria, that you have to rush to finish before the next chapter comes out, since if you miss your chance, catch-up is basically impossible. With the letter now in my possession and my course set to the Tavern in the Mists, Chapter 1 begins right now. After reaching the mysterious tavern and meeting the Black Prince for the first time, he tasks me with quests that send me into Mop's first 3 raids, to recover coveted antiquities to aid the prince in his desperate fight against the Shah, and what else may lurk in the dark below. For Chapter 1, I must enter Mogushan Vaults and recover 10 Sigils of Power and 10 Sigils of Wisdom. These are low drop chance items that drop from each boss, but with only 6 bosses in Mogushan Vaults, a weekly lockout, and 20 sigils required, which I must stress again are not guaranteed drops, that meant I needed to do Mogushan Vaults a minimum of 4 times 4 weeks in a row. This works out really well since there's also a rep grind for the Black Prince, ain't that a shock? But slaying enemies in this raid is a really good way to get it done. I am also tasked with entering the Terrace of Endless Spring raid and defeating the final boss, the Shah of Fear, and bringing its severed claw to Raytheon. However, to enter the Terrace of Endless Spring, I have to do the Heart of Fear raid in its entirety to become attuned for it. If this sounds overwhelming or complicated, it's because it is, I promise. But to simplify it, I have to do the first 3 raids of Mop Classic multiple times and bring the spoils of victory to Raytheon the Black Prince to complete Chapter 1 of the Legendary Questline. So that is the current goal. See, that's not too bad. Really, I just gotta raid a lot, like a ton. That's fine. What are you talking about? In a couple days, I walk into Mogushan Vaults on night 1 with a random group from LFG. I get my sigils. After a couple weeks of raid logging, it's gonna be fine. And then I go from there. What could possibly go wrong? February 27th, 2025. An unlikely encounter. Let's go back a bit. At the start of this year, while doing Darkmoon Fair dailies, I saw a name log onto WoW that I hadn't seen in almost 12 years. It was Bailey. He was my best friend when I was a kid, and we played WoW all the time. We had LAN parties, we would always be in the game every day after school, and no matter what we did in the game, we would always end up back at the top of that random mountain in Jade Forest that we made our home, and log out together side by side. That random mountain became our home. There, we would duel for fun or chat on Skype together. We'd watch Every Which Way on fucking Nickelodeon, which was this stupid show that we watched completely ironically. My timer is still set to when it would come on in retail WoW. To this day, we'd joke around after raids or spam dungeon queues. It was our spot until it wasn't anymore. Until it became something completely different. Until I logged out there on my own for the last time and refused to look back. Way back in 2014, Bailey and I were both chasing the Legendary Cloak together, and I was right at the finish line. A few raids left, a few quests to go, except on one night in the summer of 2014, I logged out of WoW on top of our mountain without Bailey and never logged back in. We hadn't talked since that time. We grew apart, and after almost 12 years of not seeing his name or saying a word to him, there he was in Classic WoW, on the server that I played on, leveling a Blood Elf Warlock. I bought some bags and potions and headed to the Eversong Woods with my heart in my throat. The two of us instantly reconnected, and it was as if no time had passed at all between the last time that we saw each other. We started dancing, emoting, joking around, and referencing ancient inside jokes that we both thought we'd forgotten. We wandered Eversong Woods together and reconnected for the tiniest bit of time, and it didn't take long for the conversation to move to just that. Time.
Bailey, you go through the front door even though there's a huge hole in the wall. Yep, could be that one.
This might be a cringy question, but if you had a time machine that could only go backwards, where would you go and why?
You big into Better Call Saul?
Yeah, don't even joke. No, I am, but that's where I got the question. I mean, it's a good question. Everybody answered Saul when he asked it.
Alright. Alright, a time machine. You know what? I would go back to when we would go on those fucking WoW benders and just 2 computers in my room and,
Yeah.
you know, on the weekend or some other winter break, just leveling non-stop. Fuck, that was it.
That was
You know, it would... We didn't know about anything in the world. It was just... There was nothing out there mattered.
Remember that one time that I stayed over at your house during winter break and
You're gonna have to be a bit more specific.
yeah, I'm getting there. That one time during I don't remember what year it was. It was one winter break. I stayed over at your house and we were playing WoW next to the window and it was like 2:30 a.m. We got a fucking foot of snow and outside the sky was just covered in northern lights. And we had our little Baja Blast from Taco Bell, like.
Oh yeah. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about for a second? But actually, the Baja Blast made it click. Yeah. See that time I think that was one of the best like times. We were just so innocent, you know. You said it was an aurora, and I was like, no, that's the Northern Lights. So where would you go?
Huh?
If you had a time machine that could only go in the past.
Remember that one commercial?
Again, you gotta be a bit more specific.
It was during summer of 2014. Remember we always had like Nick at Night on and the that one commercial just kept coming on really late at night. It was that like really sad acoustic guitar music and it was like for hotels or something and it was like, this is the summer that you're gonna remember and
Oh yeah, what the fuck? I do remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was always fucking on. I got sick of it.
I know.
Yeah, alright. Oh yeah, I remember that. Damn, you go back to the summertime of that fucking commercial.
I would, yeah. I quit right before I got the fucking cloak. Dude, like, right at the end of the Legendary Questline. I can't believe I gave up and fumbled that, like, that close to the finish line, too. I just logged out on our mountain and never opened the game again. And Nick at Night was on, and it was probably George Lopez or something. And on came that commercial with that sad-ass music telling me this will be the summer that I never forget, or that I'll always remember. And it was right. It was fucking right. I never forgot, but it not in the way that it meant. You know, I really wish I didn't. I wish I didn't quit.
Why did you do that, by the way? Why did you quit?
I was a pussy.
What?
Want to get real for a second? No mask, no character, no jokes, just me, the person you think you know, and you, the horrifying unseen spectator on the other side of the glowing glass. You cannot answer that question, but we're gonna get real now. In 2007, I made my first character in the Burning Crusade, an undead rogue with my real-world name. It was brilliant of me, but I quit after like an hour. I was too young and inept to figure out any of this stuff. Years later, while playing Mop, I started to chase the Legend of Pandaria title. The expansion's first raid, Mogushan Vaults, held more than just the ancient myth and memory of Pandaria's blood-soaked history. Sealed away inside were faded memories of raiding for the first time in original Mists of Pandaria. I naively joined the most insufferable and toxic pugs to attempt and take a crack at the Legendary Questline. And as stupid and silly and cringy as it sounds, raiding in WoW a decade ago and getting bitched around for not causing any wipes, but being an annoying teenager getting out DPS by a healer and such, being fucking awesome at the game, that stained my confidence going into raids ever since. And I know I'm not alone in that. So back then, instead of pursuing the Legendary Questline to the end, instead of raiding over and over, I hit this wall where I ended up getting too anxious of what people would say to me if I messed up the slightest thing. This was a symptom of something way bigger, like I take medication for this stuff now. But 10 years ago, I didn't know what to do. I'd love to tell you that my motivation for finally quitting WoW was because there was some big reason, you know, like the ones we always hear about how the game went in a direction that I didn't like, or my friends all stopped playing, you know, something like that. But part of why I never talked about it was because the reason behind me quitting was so small and avoidable. I quit right at the finish line of the Legendary Questline because I was scared. I was scared about raiding so much with so many people I didn't know. It was an anxiety that genuinely had a chokehold on me. So I ran away. Let's not forget that I briefly came back to the game for a little tiny bit because I thought Shadowlands was going to be this like amazing expansion, and I ended up documenting the game's worst expansion, ultimately quitting at the end of that too. And when I returned to Azeroth years later as an undead mage, I structured my series around chasing goals tied to things I never in a million years could have done as a kid, both of which were centered on raiding. And now, this Legendary Questline stands as my final challenge, not because it's the most difficult questline or the most impressive accomplishment to others or generally speaking, but because it's so focused in on the raids, on what originally chased me away. This was literally in every way impossible for me back then. And while I'm not that kid anymore, hell, we're so different, he may as well still be on that mountain right now, but I feel deep down, a part of me is still a quitter. And I really hate to say it, but looking at all the raiding I'm gonna have to be doing, I'm afraid. I can't count on my sweaty hands how many thoughts start with what if while I watch a group filled with 24 strangers and I'm sent a Discord link to join a voice chat with all those people that I've never met before. It's scary shit. What can I say? That's why I started this journey side by side with who was at the time my best friend. The idea of raiding with at least one person that knew me, that I could guarantee was on my side, it felt comforting, but we all know how that went. Doing ICC with Synergy at the last minute was rough. Doing Firelands in an expansion I otherwise couldn't give a shit about was tough, but doing every raid in Mop Classic, every single one of them over and over and over again, I don't know how I can do it. So I remind myself, I've come this far. I've done it before. I've committed to it. I, above all else, made a promise. And if I know anything about myself, it's that while I may be a pussy, sometimes I can force myself to be kosher instead of me. I don't want any more distractions. I need to run towards what makes me the most afraid, and I'll fake it until I make it. While I may quit, kosher, this undead mage, never has. If it feels really fucking scary, that only means I'm heading in the right direction. I have always made my promises a reality, and becoming the Legend of Pandaria is not going to be any different, no matter how anxious I get or how difficult the climb becomes. Tomorrow, I head into Mogushan Vaults. Day 1, full completion, no excuses. I will get my sigils, I will defeat the Twin Emperors, and along the way I may or may not become the best fire mage in the world. For the gnome that couldn't, and for the boy that wouldn't. Speaking of which, how do I make a Wikara for Living Bomb? I should probably get on that.